Hi students, my name is Sydney and I'm an NASA STEM ambassador through the North Dakota Space Grant. As a student in astrophysics and mathematics, I found firsthand just how important data and data analysis is. So today I'm going to show you some basic introductory things on Excel. I'll show you how to open a workbook, different ways to input data, how to type equations, and how to make some plots and graphs. So to begin, you need to open the Excel app, which is a little icon that looks like that. And once you have it open, you can see Excel templates and workbooks that you already have open. You can also see some templates up here. And if you'd like some more options, if you go to new, there's a whole long list of possible templates that you can use. So I've already started a workbook. So I'm just going to open that really quick. And once you open it, you'll see a blank sheet if you start with a blank workbook. Otherwise, if you're using a template, you'll see that. So with the blank sheet, you can type pretty much whatever you would like in there. If you'd like to input some data, you can type it in as you're measuring it, or you can copy paste it from another source, or input it as a text file. So for example, let's say I would like to record some counts of something as time is going on. So I could start a column here for time and then a column for counts. And if you'd like to change what sort of data is in a column, you can do that with this. So for example, I can do time, and then if I type in, let's say 11 o'clock, it'll automatically add seconds and AM or PM, which you can adjust. And counts, you can just put in a number as a general form if you'd like, or let's say you'd like to count dollars, you can do that, the counting here. And if you input like $45, it'll automatically add the dollar symbol and the decimals there for you. So there are all sorts of formatting that you can use, which are very helpful. Another way that you can input data is to copy paste it. So for example, let's say I have this big sheet of data and I just want these first 4 columns. I can just copy those and paste them right into a new sheet. You can also add new sheets with the plus down here and edit them by right-clicking. And you have all these options of things you can do with those. You can rename them by double-clicking. And so even if I just copy paste this data in, I can also still type things in. So let's say I have some more data to input, I can add those in there just by typing in where I want. And if you would like to input, let's say, a text file, you can also do that, and that would be under the Data tab up here. So you go to Data and then Get Data, and let's say I have a text source, so I go from text, and I have a data file in here. That's a text, and it'll look like this. So it gives you a little preview. So I click Get Data, and here is all of the data in here. So you can choose how the data is, if there's a delimiter, like there's commas separating each of the values that you need, or like in this case, if each column just has a certain width. So automatically it shows fixed width because it recognized that in this data file. So then I go next, and it broke up the columns by the date, the time, and the pressure, which is these 3 columns right here. So if I would like to change it, I can select date and then it automatically knows that's what that is. If I'd like to edit this one, I can also change things like that, but I'm just going to leave those for now. And I go finish. And let's say I would like the data to start in A2. So I have a free line up here at the top. I can do that. And it'll put the data right down here, starting in that A2 spot that I determined earlier. So now I have the date, the time, and different pressure values as was in the text file. You can also just, if you'd like to type your data, you can separate it however you'd like. Sometimes it might look nice to have a little barrier. So if you go with that, you can merge things like that if you'd like them all to be together, or you can add a line like this one. You can add borders around boxes. Sometimes it looks nice to just have borders between things like that. So you can do that if you'd like. But let's say you would like to edit some data and look at it. So let's say I need to find 1 over the distance squared. So that'll require using an equation. And so to do that, you have to start with the equal sign. And then you can type in numbers and mathematical symbols as you would like. And then if you would like a certain number in this Excel sheet, you can just click on it and it'll automatically solve that equation for you. So let's say I want to do 1 over the 13.35 squared. So I'll just type it in like that, and that gives me the number right there. So now if I'd like to do it for this value and all 5 of these, instead of having to retype this equation, I can just double click right here. It'll bring it all the way down to the last value in the distance column, and it'll perform that same equation with the next distance that matches the row that this equation is in. I could also do it down here. For example, I have this equation typed, so to get the attenuation, I need the value for none divided by this. So I can type in equals here. I need the none value divided by, see, for each material. And I want to start with that one because it's in that column. And since I would like all of them to be divided by this none value, I need to make this first one a constant. So you do that by adding a $sign before the letter and the number that corresponds to that position. So this one is 100 as expected, and if I drag it down to the rest, as you'll see, it used this none count rate value as a constant, and then it used the next value for this divided by. So now I have the attenuation for these. If you'd like to make a plot of some things, you can go insert and then you can do some different kinds of plots. Let's say we want to do a line plot and I'd like it to have some points or markers on it as well. Sometimes it'll automatically try and make a plot for you, and you can easily change that by going to select data, and you can have multiple lines. If you'd like multiple lines, you'll have to have different legend entries here. So if you want to get rid of them, you just go with the subtract. Now let's say I would like to get some different data rather than this. So if I would like to get some new data, let's say I want to examine the count rate with the distance. I could call this count rate as a function of distance. And the y values would be the count rate, which I can just put in there. And the x values would be this. And so if I go OK, now I have on the x-axis, I have these values right here, and the y is the count rate. So if I would like to add some things to this graph, such as x or y labels, I can add axis titles, horizontal and vertical. So now if I just double click on that, I can put in that this is the distance in centimeters, and I can put in on the y-axis that this is the count rate or counts per second. So now I can see this plot right here. And if I would like to add another aspect to it, I can go back to select data and just add another series here. So another type of plot that might be interesting to look at is a bar graph. So let's say I'd like to compare each type of material and the count rate. I can select all of these and go to bar graph here, or column graph. And if I just click on that, you'll see it automatically did exactly what I wanted to, but let's say it didn't. I can go up to select data and just make sure that this is exactly what I wanted. So it put the count rate as the Y values, and then for the X, it gave me each of the different materials. I could name this if I'd like to, so count rates with materials, and select OK. And if you'd like to add a chart element, you can add labels, which are always helpful. So the X here would be the material, the Y would be the count rate, and counts per second. And sometimes it's helpful to also add some other aspects of the graph, such as a legend if you like. So you can do that by going to legend. This would be more like if you have multiple different colored plots, like if you had two bar graphs or two lines in this one. So let's say I would like to create a plot that has multiple lines on it. For example, if I wanted to compare these count rates and slab thicknesses with these count rates, I would first want to select my initial data and insert, let's go with another line graph. And in this case, it did not put the numbers on here correctly. So I need to go up here to select data, and I only want one series, I don't want two. So I'll get rid of that second one. And this first one will be the part 2 counts per second. And the Y is incorrect. So I can get rid of that and just select these counts per second that I like. The X will be this slab thickness in millimeters here. Then I can add my second one here. So this will be the part 3 counts per second. And that's what I have down here in the part 3 data. So I'll grab these counts per second here. And again, the x-axis will have this slab thickness. So I'll go OK. And now I have these two lines, but they don't have a title, so I'm going to just add a title here. It's always important to have a title, axis labels, a legend, which you can see here. The blue is the part 2 counts per second, so that'll be this data. And the orange is the part 3 counts per second, that's this. And if you're interested, there are other options. You can add a trend line. There are different ones here. For example, you can add a linear trend line for let's see, this blue one looks a little more linear, so that'll be the part 2, so I'll go with that. And you can see that showed up right there, so that's kind of cool. And you can also add the equation to the chart by going to this third trend line options tab here and clicking display equation on chart. So now if I need this equation that goes with that line, I can show it right here. So I think that's all you'll need for some pretty basic Excel. As you can see, there are a ton of things you can do with it. Lots of cool options for analyzing data and working with different things. So I wish you all the best and good luck with learning Excel.